Sorry, I didn't do it.
Okay, it's 5:30. I'll call the meeting to order.
Make the motion that we approve the minutes for a regular meeting on 2/19.
Second. Motion made and seconded. Anything further on those? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Motion for non-public meeting, 2/19, 1 and 2.
Second. Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second. Anything further? Yes. Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Public input.
Nothing first.
I have some, I might go to Bill about briefly. I don't know if this is fall under noise ordinance or not, but the drain breaking, engine breaking, whatever you want to call it, it's somewhat excessive sometimes. That's why when you live, close to where I live, I'm not sure if you hear that truck coming down the hill at 3 or 4 in the morning, almost every morning, 5 days a week. And it just seems like we get breaks from the fairground all the way to the circle, and just get louder and louder. I think probably on any main road that trucks travel, there's a curve, there's not a reason for them to slow down. It's just so. I don't know if there's anything that can be done. I know some towns do have ordinances against the J breaking totally. I don't know if that's something that Swanzey would consider. It's certainly a petition item. I don't think it'd be very hard to get signatures. But also, I mean, the compromise would be maybe dusk to dawn, you know. So it's something I'd like the board to consider. Amongst themselves, and if whatever I could do to help, I would appreciate guide up there.
It's actually the J like the engine when he lets off the gas pedal.
I don't know how that actually works.
I think it's how the motor, right?
It's an exhaust, great exhaust, the exhaust system. It's a safety thing for them because it helps slow down so they don't heat up their brakes. One of the issues, and it gets brought up all over the country. Well, one of the issues, a safety issue, because they're not using their engine brake, they're heating up their other brakes, and when they lose their brakes, they don't stop.
So you're saying if that guy hit his brakes, that noise would be lower?
If they're not using, when they let off the throttle, the exhaust brake kicks on, and makes that loud noise, which is helping retain the truck speed down, so everything is not relying on the brakes.
Yeah, I'll never hear any of your truck.
Yeah, so they're not big enough.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're talking, they're speeding 30 miles an hour coming down.
Maybe this is 112.
It's also from the fairground, it's also like a 30-mile-an-hour speed. So it should be really have a need for that. It could really be making that degree of nuisance. It's totally, it's a quality of life issue.
May I interject, do you mind if I interject, because I had the same issue when I called the state.
Yeah.
And the state said there is no law to prevent engine braking from the state.
From the state.
Yeah, there is no law, because we had the same issue in our neighborhood.
I think then it must be controlled at the town level, because like I said, we see it in communities where it's clearly marked, no engine braking. So,
Okay, thank you.
no, thank you guys. Go for it.
Well, Michael, after our conversation, Michael is researching kind of short notice. But he will,
And it's been brought up before, I think before the roundabout. So. Fire Station Advisory Committee. Looks like a pretty good diverse group.
a few more names to
Oh,
add.
geez, there we go.
Couple of, I don't know, that's.
So I had Scott Self, Mark Scalera, Ken Greatbatch, Bob Smith, Brian Rogers. Bob Mitchell. Keith Bell. And Sherry Master.
All those added to what we've already seen.
It's a powerhouse group here. Wow. Well, no, I'm asking to add them.
Point of order,
That's
Mr. Holger, what was the last name?
Sherry Matson,
Sherry.
What are we at, like 15, 20?
probably.
We'll let them fight it out on the e-board or, yeah. So we don't wanna give them any direction on that.
I think we should attend the meeting. I'd like to suggest Jay as the chair.
David,
Ken Great Patch isn't on the list you put out.
wasn't Tenny on there?
No, these are some,
Right.
these are new ones.
Kathy is, right? Yeah.
Figure out who's got, most of the people I talk to don't feel they have the time.
So we meant let them pick the executive board out of them people, right? And who would do that, the chair?
I think they would do it collectively.
Ready for a couple more?
Hold on, we got those.
Well, do you have these?
I want those.
Oh, okay.
Just added them.
Yep. Well, those are the ones Bill gave us. These are different.
I have those names. You had it.
Bob Smith.
What I have is John Hogan, Jim Razabek, Kathy Burstone, Jeff Burke, Steve Biddle, Greg Johnson, Joe Parisi, Mike York, Mark LaBelle, Jay Ward, Stacy Goodell, Robert DeRocha, and Deputy Fire Chief Burke.
Okay, and then Bill just
And
added,
I just added Ken Greatbatch, Brian Rutgers, Bob Mitchell, Keith Bell, Sherry Matson, Scott Self, Mark Stillero. Do I have more?
everybody you got?
We should start.
All right, looks good.
But the only thing I see there is we got Burke signing up for, it, but I thought we discussed that we were gonna make them mandatory, that one of them show up every meeting out of the 4 deputies or whatever you call them, chiefs.
Well,
That one of them was gonna be at every meeting, so there was questions.
we could
about-
call it the fire department rep. If you'd like.
I just think it'd be smart to have every meeting have at least one of them show up, they can alternate. So they're not obligated, because I see Burke's signed up, but there's no Matson and the other guys, the other 2 guys.
Just
Eric did.
Eric agrees with you.
Yeah, he did,
He agrees that somebody in the community
fantastic.
in addition to mine.
I just want to know that.
You're right. He is a part.
Sure. Would you like to make that motion?
The motion is gonna be to accept,
Or to appoint these people?
to appoint these people, yes, I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Yes, have it. Good job. Waterline extension to Valley
Before we
Creek
develop
Development.
that, I would like to suggest we discuss whether Jay, we're in agreement with regard to Jay being the chair.
Either that or let them hash it out on their own as far as
I
you
don't want to do that.
You don't want to have them come up with an e-board, then
Oh, yeah.
e-board
Yes.
come up.
Absolutely.
Well, then have the e-board come up with a chair. No?
No,
Well,
I feel very strongly about that.
yeah, just tell me why you feel strongly that you would like to see Jay there. You just think,
I've observed him,
as a leader of a
on the zoning board and how quickly he came up to speed and how he developed the ability to drive the discussion among board members. Also, the comments that he's made at our board meetings over the last year. I think he has a very reasoned approach. He's very temperate. I think he's very rational. I think he's open to discussing, and I think he's a good leader.
The reason I tend to agree with Bill is because the chair is gonna be an important, on that kind of thing, a chair is gonna be really important to have a guy control it and direct it and where to go, so I agree with you that I would want to leave it up to just anybody, right?
I think it's our chance to really provide direction and
Consistency.
I'm gonna go by your judgment on Jay, I don't know him enough to know that, but I respect your thoughts on who you decide, so I'm gonna agree with you on this. Yep.
Consensus.
Yeah.
Good.
Did you also say that you wanted the first meeting, the joint meeting between the select board and committee?
yes, I think so. I know I would want to
Say that again, Bill,
that it would be a joint meeting with the board,
the first
right,
meeting,
first. basically provide the guidance that you gave, which is everything's on the table. With some parameters, but
Basically, everything on the table with them, as far as any options that they want to come up with. Is it gonna be mandatory that one of us are gonna be at one of these meetings, or we don't have to? It's gonna be our choice,
but I think we could if we want to sit in.
so maybe one of us will once in a while, just to sit in. And let me ask one more question, I hate to drag this out, but. Is it closed now? What if somebody comes late? Because there is a couple people I noticed on the list that said that they definitely wanted to be on it. Is it closed now? If somebody comes in now, like within this week, are we shutting it down? Are we by voting? Is it shut down? Or is it still, can somebody pop on? Because I did notice there was a couple of people that ain't on that list that said, I want to be on, I want to be on. You know one of them. And he told you that. I got some.
it'll be a public meeting when we meet.
Okay, and that's his last chance, that's what we'll tell. You show up for the meeting, right, when you do that, you are over that side.
And then anybody from the public that comes in wants to provide input. So,
Okay,
order on an extension. To Valley Creek, did we get any prices?
Table until.
Table.
Yeah, Jeremiah reached out that given the time, he wasn't able to get the pricing that you asked for, so if you'd like to be on the agenda for the 17th.
Sounds good.
Can I just ask, is Jeremiah planning on trying to do that work himself or seeking with other contractors? So I would just recommend that obviously the qualifications and references of whoever's going to do the work.
I think the estimate was probably just install. Didn't really say who was going to do it. So,
and the other question I have, so you can be fair, but is there any option of the company that you, I know how it works that you guys, that you would put any money into it, place that you work for?
perhaps when we want to see what the,
Okay, but there was an option there that you could.
probably up to the commissioners of the precincts.
I got you.
Would it be worth inviting them to the 17th? Maybe on the 17th?
Sure. I mean, hopefully I
Or sooner,
get the estimate before.
right? You had a meeting, I mean, months, but you have a meeting this month?
Third. Second. Third. It's the 15th, whatever it is.
That same week, so. Did you catch that? If you could get it to
15th.
live by the 15th, they have a meeting that night. It's only a couple.
So you should get you. So,
Oh. Yeah, because you gotta get it in the packet, right? The packet's gotta go up Friday before the
It has before.
Wednesday meeting. It's not recent. There. Conservation Commission Chair Sherry Dunman.
Affecting after 6, so I don't see Sherry. Sherry's open. We can wait, we got it.
We can wait. We're waiting on the public hearing, sorry.
Okay.
Contract approval? Are we fixed on that? West Swansea Solar Array?
Good, yeah, so that's the, like you said, solar array at the Wisconsin sewer plant was a warrant article this year. The selected revision through a request for qualification process, it's coming in well under what we had projected. So we're looking at get authorization to sign the contract, which will allow us to start to get in the schedule, which at this point will be next year for construction. We can continue to seek alternate funding sources, which we are. But we're looking to give the board to authorize the overall expenditure and the assignment contract to get on the schedule.
Yeah, yeah, I'll make that motion. Let's put those.
Motion made and seconded to authorize the expenditure of up to $400,000 for the solar array at the wastewater treatment plant. And authorize the town administrator to sign contract documents with Revision Energy and sign related grant and loan documents. All in favor, say aye. Aye, the ayes have it. Requested expenditure, Crescent Covered Bridge, tree removal.
So you want to speak to this when you had the bridge closed for the redecking, a couple of trees kind of.
Yeah, there were 3 or 4 big pines leaning on the bridge, and I figured it was a perfect time to remove them out of there, so we can have one of them fall on the bridge and destroy it. So we're out to take that out of the bridge ponds.
I did consult with the chair of the trustees and trust fund, since this wasn't directly repair or restoration, it was kind of anticipatory. He felt comfortable with the expenditure.
Good expenditure.
Yeah, I think it's a smart move. I don't know if there's still crappy trees, you know, big pine branches, they were a mess, so I think he made a good decision on that.
That would have been my luck, we would have fixed the decking. We might have been now.
No doubt about it, good move. I'll make that motion.
All right, motion made and seconded to authorize the expenditure of up to $3,300 for the removal of hazardous trees from the covered bridges capital reserve fund. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Yeah, ayes have it.
Before you move on up that one, just one item I wanted to make the board aware of. So we got word this week that the Northern Border Regional Commission, they had what they call Timber for Transit, a grant opportunity of ways to try to use timber products in transportation projects. And we'd hoped to do an application of our own, didn't end up doing one, but Southwestern Regional Planning Commission did. We discussed one of the possible ideas being some kind of a wooden walkway adjacent to the Pepper Bridge, and they're very open to work with us on that. So they were awarded the grant. I think just under $1 million for feasibility and potentially some construction, so. Just another step, and if we build a separate bridge, it could be right where those. Kind of building that, so just.
Hopefully on the other side.
Yeah, but I think instead of going the other side, shame. You know, I looked at that book,
Because of the sidewalk.
you know, and I saw pictures of that, it's one of them in that book that you went to that class.
Mhm.
And if you look in that book, I was reading that whole book this morning, and it showed a bridge with the walkway along the side, and then they make a bridge down to the landing down to the ground. It's pretty cool. I mean, it would be nice to have over there if we could pull that off.
Yeah.
Because you see people walk across that, it's amazing. It's dark, and then you get on the bridge, and then you don't have a lot of room. So safety is terrible for people walking on that.
So continuing to work on it, no immediate solution, but it's on.
Requested expenditure Whitcomb Hall well repair.
Joe, you could give the background a little bit more about kind of what caused this, and Jimmy, you were involved as well, but
Yeah, so
basically had some vandalism.
yeah, the juvenile in West Swanzey have been very active this year, but they pulled the cover off the well, broke the cover. It was a pretty flimsy cover, but they broke it. Put a bunch of rocks in it, in order to get the rocks out without risking having them fall down past the corporation, you had to dig down like 6 or 7 feet, use a wash well company, cut off the well casing, we're able to successfully remove all the rocks out of there without letting those drop. If they drop down on top of the pump, there's a risk you can't get the pump out. Thankfully, that
Which we still don't know.
we still
So we have to pull that pump.
Yeah,
Because the one big one hung up on the pit list on the side.
yeah, and then all the little ones were on top of the big one, but you don't know what went in there ahead of time.
If it wasn't for the pit list,
They were
Yeah,
all
well,
gone. Yeah, and so, and then I had, at the same time, I said, you know, a little bit around the side of caution, I have a water test to make sure they didn't make it in there. So the water test doesn't come back that there were any contaminants put in the well, but the water had issues. So we had the well flushed out and had to green light with the water back to it. We didn't have the water well, we didn't think so either. We don't think the kids put anything in there contaminated the well. I think if most people tested their wells, they probably come back with the same results we had, so.
the bacteria.
Yeah.
And he chlorinated this whole building. We flushed it in the building, I was out there, and then he let it sit overnight. And then we,
Twice.
yeah, we had to do it twice.
Yeah.
Anything we could do to protect the well cap?
Put a new cover on that's very,
Got one on there now, for the
whole
holes.
updated bolt and heavy duty cover.
We'll put a big piece of granite over it, we'll hollow it out.
They got that fake rock over it.
I
That's
put a
a
real
real
rock.
I can, how well is it? Not the easy one. They got the cover off of the artesian well.
It was one that was proper. It was the old fashioned metal one that just slips over the top. Little set screw nuts. The new one is like when you put the bolts on, it compresses around that steel pipe. So,
They hit it with a rocker.
yeah, and they kick it off. But I said, don't put the rocks around it. You know, the kids had the rocks that were right there. Right there.
But yeah.
But we don't know, the problem is when we go to pull that pump, we don't know if the rocks fade through and small and they're jammed around. Cause you gotta figure the pump is just a cylinder hooked onto the poly pipe. So you gotta pull that up, right? And it wedges those things, we're gonna pop the line up. And then hopefully we got enough of static level of the water, we can just put another pump on top of the old one. If that's what happens, lower another one, just set it on top of the old one, leave the old one in there.
Otherwise, you gotta get the well ready and re-drill.
Yeah, they clash it, it's crazy.
Yeah, the kids have been crazy.
No, it wasn't in the camera line, right?
Yeah, it's too bad, I'm
They
like,
picked up our signboard and moved it, must have been 5, 6 kids, the signboard's head. Picked it up and turned it, so it wasn't facing the road, they did that a couple weeks ago, they were painting all over that stuff.
Brownfield.
it'd be great for they didn't kick in the back door and destroy the place in there. If the camera, we would have got them if they went to the back door.
in the area.
Should we have Joe pay for this out of pocket or should we pay for it?
Not my way.
I think I'll make the motion that I'll make the motion that we pay for
Okay, motion made and seconded to authorize the expenditure up to $1,547 for repairs to the well at Whitcomb Hall from the Edna C. Whitcomb Common Trust Fund. All in favor, say aye.
it. Right?
Aye, and the ayes have it. April expenditure and revenue report.
Nothing noteworthy since the first quarter.
Nothing. It looked good.
How are you doing on general assistance?
It has slowed down a little bit, but still steady.
Trending in the wrong direction.
I would have to look back.
Sorry, reading her report was one thing, but seeing the numbers. I've seen.
Well, it's just the way-
Seeing is believing it. Yeah, I can try to look at it, next meeting.
Did you have a meeting with?
We did it.
How did that? Well,
Felt like I still didn't really get the straight answer, but working on learning more about what happened.
this is with regard to the billing.
Yes.
Has it been ongoing?
No, it's just a one-time mystery, so. Spoke to another friend I have that works at one of those agencies, so I think we can learn more.
Administrative update.
I included a memo here that we put together today. Joe and I met with Mr. Holler over at the Denton Thompson Highway Bridge. We've been kind of identifying that the cost is gonna come in higher than we expected, so the initial contract. But the initial authorization was for 310,000. We're now looking at in the range of 660 to 700. So obviously significantly more. Fortunately, we have some decent funds that we can tap, so there's another 133 in the town bridges capital reserve fund. And then we can allocate some of the FEMA funds we received for last year's flooding, that's just under 190. So that gets us fairly close. When we have the invest NH per unit affordable housing grant, where we have to over 500,000. So I'd like to wait until we get a little more info, but if we could approve the money from the capital reserve fund tonight, so we can pay at least the next bill, and that hopefully by next meeting, we might have a little more info.
Point of order, what are you talking about?
The Denton Thompson Bridge, the bridge on Denton Thompson Highway.
And I know we had a site visit out there where we met, so they're on to the other side of the bridge, and we were hoping that the other side of the concrete is gonna be better, well, it was far away. So when they bid that project, those, especially for them to understand, when they did the project, they estimate 15 to 30% recommendation for that. And they give a price per square foot for partial, and a price per square foot for full reclamation. So most bridges are within 15 to 30% deck failure. We're not even done, and we're over 60% deck failure. So just give you an idea how bad the concrete is. And as we discussed, there's no way of telling you to get that asphalt filled up and start. So they're pretty confident there are no other issues. He's actually taking care of some joints that he's not going to charge us for, or he feels bad about it, but we were out there today, and basically that other side is the majority of this whole reclamation all the way down to the block. It's formed up, and everything's going well. They run the supplier for the joints a little bit behind, but Plan B will be running plates for the school buses, so buses will be able to get over the bridge by the time school opens back up.
Any state funding for the force damage? that we found?
I have not reached out yet. We initially applied for state bridging to help fund the repair, and the program has been closed for 7 or 8 years, not giving even respond to the application, but I do plan to see if they have any left over.
Because at this point, it is a red listed bridge based on what they found,
Mm,
even though they didn't find it,
right,
the state.
state had to find it, right? I wouldn't hold my hopes up, but it is an avenue, usually.
Yeah, does that still work like that? And even though we opened up the doors to do it?
They're supposed to inspect it.
They initially expected it going in, red line from what? Can't remember. There is an inspection from the state.
Yeah, that's what prompted this.
Yeah.
Over time.
And that's how when I first started working with the engineer, Joseph, that's doing Christian Hill. And he's kind of coached me through it. He verifies everything that they're doing is what needs to be done, and there's no other way. But yeah, that was initially red line. The state's been communicating with the contractor a little bit, but they're not talking about funds, they're talking about they want some inspections or no set of eyes and forwarders got so much experience, they're all set with that. But maybe worth reaching out to see if there is no financial loss.
I never asked you that. That's what prompted, because how would you know?
Yeah, state inspection.
Yeah, because how would you, because the bridge looked beautiful to me, I mean, before it didn't look like, it didn't need you to repair
Yeah,
it.
when they peeled the asphalt up, it was like, all excited, wow, our concrete looks really good. Until they got it sound, and it sounded echo, and then they hit it with a jacket, it really falls apart.
Yeah, the state inspects all bridges every 2 years.
Every 2 years?
And they grade various things, the structure, the abutments, and they grade them on 1 to 10. And when they get, I think, under 5, they're under 5 or under.
We have to have a plan.
It becomes on the red list, which means they're warning you, like, it might have to be closed. Then they inspect them every year. And it does open up more eligibility for funding, but the program's been so underfunded that they've been accepting new applications. And then, when they're on the red list, you run the chance that any year they could come in and say, all right, you're under, I don't know if it's under 2 or what.
Shut it down.
Yeah, they will recommend you shut it down, but you take all liability if you don't.
Is that right?
And when it first came on the red list, the options were, in working with the engineer, discussing with him, the option was to pull up the asphalt with respect to concrete. And if the concrete's good, you can run on concrete for 2 or 3 years before you do anything else. But if you pull the asphalt and concrete's bad, the bridge is shut down. So I didn't, I opted, good thing I did, because if I would have filled out the asphalt, that bridge would be closer, we didn't have the funding for it. So what we did was we were working on South Winchester Street. We milled a little bit of the asphalt, put a new coat of asphalt on it to get us through.
And while we didn't get direct aid.
So when was this inspection? A year ago, 2 years ago?
It's been on our radar. I think 2017 is when we applied to put it in the program, so it's been on our radar for several years. Well, we didn't get like a direct, usually they do 80-20, like for municipally managed bridge projects, so we didn't get that. But we did get several $100,000 over the last few years of additional state aid that we put in the capital reserve, so otherwise we would have been even worse year. But we did get some, I don't want to give the state credit, we did get some state funds. Go towards it.
So what motion are you looking for?
I guess I'd be looking for, whether you want to do 133 or just 130,000 from the town bridges capital reserve fund towards the Denman Thompson, the bridge on Denman Thompson Highway. Repair. Town bridges. I keep correcting myself because I keep wanting to call it Denman Thompson Bridge, but I was chastised. And
It's on Denman Thompson Road.
it is confusing, so.
So you're gonna take all the money from the capital reserve fund, right?
Yeah,
The 133.
yeah, keep it changed, so we keep.
That's what the motion you want to be made, to remove the money from the capital reserve, so we can pay and so we figure out where we're gonna get the rest.
Correct.
We'll leave it 209, so it'll be 133,000.
130. I'll make the motion.
Second. Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. I will move the time.
Looks like we.
Touch on the Wilson bond there.
Oh, sure, yeah.
2 minutes or less.
Very, very quick. Yeah, so as you know, the water level had dropped on Wilson here a couple of weeks ago, and it was due to a fault
spillway board, lower board broke, and was draining water out of the pond, and we were able to make a repair and clean the whole. The water levels back up where it needs to be, so it had nothing to do with the construction project up above, if anything, the construction project up above helped because of how much water they've been pumping. I think the repair is going to work, I hope it is, if it doesn't, we're gonna have to, one way to fix it is to lower the pond, we don't want to do that, but we're keeping an eye on it, it seems like it's holding up pretty well.
Bottom board,
One board,
how many boards are there?
6.5.
Stacked, like, what are they, like a 2x10?
Yeah, like 5.5 inches.
Right there, and you got 6 of
Yeah,
them,
the bottom
and the
one.
bottom one cracked, and it was just cracked, and the water was pissing through it.
Broke right up. We were luckily, we were able to break it out, lower it down, and then we put some plywood on the outside of it, so. It should hold, but yeah, water, like I said earlier this year, I got a fish, and I did the boards, the water must have raised one of the boards up enough. And a fish got stuck in, we couldn't get the board back down.
For the keeper?
No,
The bottom board doesn't get cold in winter.
That bottom one never gets full.
no, it holds the crap.
It's raining with
Are they white up?
So maybe that's why that was weaker.
Yeah.
Was it, but I wonder, yeah.
Make some.
Things are left.
Your wife, what, oh, that was a lot. I mean, somebody can only fur too.
Yeah.
So when do we train it? When will we get started? So when we do that, are we gonna change it? That's when we
We'll
go.
have to go a little bit lower than normal to do it, but we will. We need to replace the lower board with a piece of metal, shit.
So we don't have that though, but that never was taken out.
No, it holds the track. You pull out the track, so.
We should just do it in that.
Very easy read.
And then it-
don't think you, much info here.
All right, it being 6 o'clock, I'll call a public hearing to order for the Old Homestead Association Bands at the Bowl Summer Concepts Concert Series. Anybody have any input?
It's always good.
Sounds good. That's great input.
Yeah.
All right. If there's nothing further, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
A motion to approve event permit number 2024-14 Bands at the Bowl Summer Concert Series. All in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
Aye. The ayes have it. Conservation Commission Chair Terry Domino and Member Bud Windsor, Swanzey Lake Water Testing, the Class 6 portion of Talbot Hill Road. Welcome. You want to sit there at the mic, you can push the button.
Grab Joe, what if we give them that chair, they both can sit right here. And I'll sit it up like that.
Jeff is also here, with us from the President of Swanzey Lake.
So what's the name?
Jeff Lappin,
Yeah, LAP, I think.
He is.
he is the president of the Swanzey Lake Protective Association.
Yes, yes.
So far this year. So, Swanzey Lake had, was lucky enough to get a grant for FD Environmental Associates to do a study of the watershed. And, some of the initial findings came back last fall. I forwarded it to Mike and to Joe so they could take a look at it. The formal presentation for that, what they found is going to be July 20th. Unfortunately, it's the same day as our home day, but it will be here in Whitman Hall if anybody would like to attend and listen to their explanations of what they found. During the middle of their study, we had the flood on July 10th of last summer. And so when they came to look at the lake, it was probably the worst shape I had ever seen it, and I've lived on West Shore Road for the last 40 years. And to give you a good example, in the report, my driveway actually made the report as something that needed to be fixed. So, but all that silt, all that gravel, all the topsoil, a lot of it ran into the lake. And so our concern, and the concern that shows up in the report is, the phosphorus loading that we believe will be, increased greatly. And phosphorus floating has always been a problem, at Swanzey Lake. It's reported actually back in the 90s that, it was such an issue that they thought that there should be a moratorium on any new development at Swanzey Lake. This is back in the 90s. So, why we're here is, we would like to do some more sophisticated testing of the water quality. We do test the water every year, but it's not as detailed. And we're looking for explanations of what has actually happened as a result of the flood and what condition the lake is in and what we can do to remediate that going forward. Monday, we had a meeting of the Conservation Commission, and at that time we thought it was important enough to put some money towards this. They were looking, FB Environmental themselves would suggested that we do the testing. That's part of what they do. The price of that testing is roughly $7,300, and that's not the exact, but it's close. $7,300, and the Conservation Commission has voted to put up to $2,500 towards them. So I guess we're coming here with a hat in our hand, looking for some help to to do this more detailed testing that FB Environmental has proposed.
I described in the letter that you got, you know, why we need the additional information about internal phosphorus loading because of the sediment that went into the lake. You know, about 56% of the phosphorus comes into Swanzey Lake comes from the watershed, things running off roads and people's lawns and septic systems and stuff. But about 17%, so the second most common addition of phosphorus comes from internal loading, they call it. So that's like the bottom of the lake, basically giving off phosphorus. And since we had so much sediment run into the lake last summer, they want to kind of get a better handle on what that is contributing to the lake. And you know, how that's going to look going forward. So the price was either $7,300 or $7,600. Was for six testing days from June to October. Now June's already gone, so I imagine it might just be 5 testing days now, so that the cost will diminish somewhat. But we felt like, you know, we got, like Bud said, we got lucky enough to get this study. We were the only lake in Maine that was approved for this EPA. I'm sorry, I was involved in the same study in Maine. So I went through this on Elmwood Lake in Maine too. But we were lucky enough to be the one town in New Hampshire that got this grant last year for this EPA funded study. So I think this is just sort of going to be an small additional amount to invest in the lake and the health of the lake going forward.
What would the remediation be if it comes back hot?
Well, this is what we want to find out from them.
No, forget what the level is.
Yeah.
If it comes back high, phosphorus is higher, then pick any number you want. What would the remediation be?
Probably being more of a watchdog on new construction at the lake, septic systems. Joe, we've been working with Joe as far as road salt's concerned. I'm going to put on a workshop on the no phosphorus fertilization program for lawns. So a lot of lawns around the lake. But,
Can we do that anymore?
well, yes.
Just
Yes.
get ahead of it.
Yeah, but I think it's, what happens is if people don't take this seriously, is danger of more, the lake not being used as it's currently used, algae bloom, cyanobacteria. All these things that contribute to, the degradation of the lake, so to the point where it wouldn't be as a desirable place to be. So, yeah, can we do that anyway? Yes, but do we want to put this on the front burner for all the homeowners of the lake, all the people that use the lake? And to take this seriously, because like I said, this is shown up since the nineties, and really, no alarm bells went off, but they should have. But now, since the flooding, I really do believe that we're gonna find that it's much more of a problem than it ever had been.
I'm just worried if you find out there's not very much. Would that then open the floodgate to, don't worry about
No,
it, instead of just getting ahead of it?
I don't
And
think so.
I know Wilson Pond has done some things with, what's your program up there with the
Lake Smart,
Lake Smart?
and Swanzey's already done some of that, we're pretty aggressively seeking that. There are concerns we're saying, they fertilizer, those all. Thank God we're doing that, storm, we didn't get it, we run off, the way, Swansea Lake, that was everything coming down into the puddle. My understanding, the testing is it's much more pointed. So to identify, find more troubles and source in this area, and address it, but we were talking about the conservation committee, unless there's a problem, people seem to ignore all the information they get. Many people know that it's illegal to fertilize within 25 feet of the body of water. Not too many, right? They want their lawn to drain all the way down. But yeah, it's an education process.
Well, we already have a stricter than the state public for the septic systems. And Joe's gonna say that probably because it's dirt road, he's not salting anything, so
There's no salt in there. It's a little bit at the entrance way, but most of that flows
the other
below.
And most of what we're talking about right now are external phosphorus sources. And we know we can do a lot about that. We're not sure what you can do about internal phosphorus loading. So they are gonna come back with some recommendations, they said, based on their findings.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the question that you posed, what are the recommendations? That's what they're gonna talk about at the July 20th meeting. And I know there are about 15 major recommendations they're making. The number one problem they found is Talbot Hill River. And there was a recommendation about wanting to. Yeah, discontinue it, put in, sort of put it back to nature. Is one of the things that they recommended, but the question that we all have is, so what are these recommendations and what will it take to do it? Because what's clear from what they said about the findings is the lake is in terrible shape. And they just want to find out how terrible, because they have the data from before the flood, decades before the flood and after the flood. So everybody's got the question you posed, which is, well, what's the recommendation? And the big review is, July 20th.
But in answer to your question, though, as a result of this report, I do see a heightened awareness of people starting to realize that they have to, a lot depends on what they do and how they take care of their properties. We just have to keep on it. So yeah, and as we all know, Swansea Lake, the development there has been, it's been pretty incredible in the last 10 years. And, there is pressure on it. There's a lot of pressure on it. And it's a great resource for the town. It's a great resource for the day camp. It's just an incredible place, and it just needs to be.
Feeling, gentlemen.
Well, I see the point of, that, the testing and stuff, but what comes after that, what's that lead to? And I know what you mean, and why don't they just react on what we should do, I understand that. And it could go the other way, with the people that live around there, it could come back great, and then everybody don't care, we got it made. So,
That's not.
Yeah,
No, that's not.
that's not
The
happening.
odds are better.
But actually, Jim, I gotta tell you. This, out of those new people that live at the lake, there's a lot of interest. In testing, there's a lot of interest in doing the right thing,
Mm.
and it could have gone the other way where you get people that don't care, but I see. In the last few years, I've seen a change in that attitude.
So the big benefit of this whole testing thing too is to make everybody aware of, like, look at our test come back, we all gotta step up now. So I think that's your biggest payoff of this testing right now, because they're not gonna go in there and take out the sediment that.
No,
went in there from the water. That ain't gonna
you
happen,
can't do that.
that don't happen, so there's probably no,
There's no immediate thing we can do. We
Right.
just need to know. And then,
so you wanna spend the money to make people aware and say, look, if this is what we got, to get everybody really aware. That's gonna be the main thing out of this,
Well,
right?
yes, and once we know, the more information we have, then you can go after, if they say, well, our recommendation is that you fix X, Y, and Z, then you can go get a grant to fix X, Y, and Z based on the information that you have. We've been doing testing on Swanzey Lake for years through the volunteer program. And because of that information, that enabled us to get the big grant that we did for the watershed management plan. So you hope money follows information. That's the ideal.
You know what, this is a pretty stretchy metaphor perhaps, but it's like somebody went to the doctor and they did a cell scraping. And they said, ooh, you know, the culture came back, looks kind of scary, maybe we should do a biopsy. So what the environmental wants to do is biopsy. Find out like how bad this is. They already know it's bad. They don't try to help.
So what's gonna happen on the 20th?
FB Environmental is gonna present all their findings from this year-long assessment of watershed.
And you wanna be able to just say to them, we wanna do the testings before the 20th?
No,
You
No.
wanna know?
No.
no,
You don't need to.
no, their proposal was to do 6 different testings once a month, basically, from now to October.
I got you.
And then they'll have that, kind of look at that over the winter and give us some recommendations by the spring.
The one thing I'll caution you to with the study, because I've been involved with that a little bit, some of the recommendations, some of the recommendations are good. Some of them I have questions about, but the talk about Talbot Hill, there's just so much with discontinuing on Class 6 road and people that have frontage up there. And then the other thing, people keep coming to me about, when are you gonna go up there and do something with it? I've already addressed this with the board. I don't feel comfortable doing anything up there right now, because anything you put in is coming down again.
no,
Right now, the rain is actually, everywhere there were water bars before from the water operation years ago, there are now 6 or 7 different trenches, and the good thing is water's going to different areas and not just one area. But anything could be done up there, whether that was gonna be turned to a Class 5 road or if it was gonna be turned to a greenway, would take a full design engineer and a full drainage system to make, would be quite expensive, because you can't just go in and fill it in and play around with it.
so I agree.
Yeah.
Well, so that's kind of the secondary thing we wanted to talk about while we were here, so maybe we could tackle that after we're done with the discussion on the testing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm just curious of the purpose of the meeting on the 20th. The testing hasn't been done. What is it that's gonna be?
The report is gonna be presented.
There's no
we-
report.
we have-
Testing hasn't
Well,
been-
no, we have a preliminary report of the watershed. With some of those recommendations, that they've presented, to the board, to the Swanzey Lake.
They've been working on it for a year, this is a whole thing.
Yeah.
It's, they've got just a whole list of locations around the watershed that, are a problem for runoff into the lake. So they've prioritized all these different projects around the lake that they looked at and said, like Talbot Hill Road, that's like one of the #1 priorities for how much phosphorus, how much sediment it's dumping into the lake. So they've got color pictures, there's several page report, multi-page report detailing, things that could be done. And then, so that's just phase 1, phase 2 is gonna be getting grant money for the implementation. That's something that the EPA is.
But they're making recommendations on testing that hasn't been completed.
Right, so they said, okay, we did all this stuff last summer and we're seeing that there's some holes in our data. That because all this sediment dumped into the lake last July. We don't really understand what's going on with this internal phosphorus loading. We don't have a full picture of that. We think that, we think that so much is coming from externally being dumped into the lake, but we're not sure how much is coming from the sediments that are already in the lake themselves. So that's the picture they want to kind of flesh out. It doesn't have a lot to do with this July 20th meeting. It's gonna be something they'll probably, be able to report to us next spring.
Except that,
The additional testing, the work they've done,
yeah,
they're gonna report on.
they're gonna put on the work they've done, and, after July 20th, you'll all get that report, in all time. To see all the issues that they've brought up. Some have already been fixed, Joe's already done, quite a few of them, to tell you the truth, so, some are easy fixes and some, like Capitol Road, are not. But they do see some things with new eyes that, I could drive by every day and not realize it was the issue that it was, so. So anyway, that's why we're here, we're looking for, additional funding on top of the 2,500 the Conservation Commission, voted to do for this,
Total cost was $7,300.
7,600, I think. Ish, yes, but it may be less than that because, like
so
we
later
said,
summer.
we're already in July.
Joe, do you have any
Oh, you
open
got it.
FEMA applications for funding for any storm damage?
Yeah, but nothing that would do that. I'm working on mitigation for East Shore Road for rip wrapping the entire swale on top of the hillside of the road.
I just wonder if this could be considered like engineering for what happened
I can,
from the storm.
but I don't think it, from what I saw and I listened to mitigation, I don't think it's something that they would cover. So I can.
The July 20th report might, if they actually spell out Talbot Hill Road,
what they do.
that might.
I can
Give you some
ask, but
evidence.
what I've shown the parameters, I don't think so. And so I have a meeting next Thursday with them about mitigation. They'll pay a certain percent of the total damage. I wish there was more damage to East Shore Road financially because they would have paid for more of the riprap swale. So, like I said, I've looked at, I agree with some of them I don't agree with. It just, there's not enough room and a lot of them are on private property and. It's always a challenge. Everybody wants a water fix, but they don't want any water coming on their property and permitting. So some of them are very unrealistic. Some of them make a lot of sense. And then it's the funding source of being able to do it.
Do you have any preliminary email or anything that you could give to Joe that from the engineer that might,
We have a report.
that they're gonna release on the 20th?
Yes.
Oh, good.
We got, I'm not giving it to Joe.
Right. Maybe just reference
I
that.
can ask them, like I said, Thursday and see if it falls into here. From what I've read, for the searching, I don't think.
They love engineering.
It's from the conservation fund, I assume, so it doesn't impact the budget. And it's not a budget, the rest of this is not a budgeted expense, which is what I told these folks. But the board for consideration, so is it going to break the bank? No, I mean, we could make it work, but I agree, Sly's concern, testing always sounds good, but it has, in my opinion, should be towards a goal, and obviously this is in response to a specific issue, so it does make sense, but are we just, to your point, if we already know we need to do something about the phosphorus, we just find out how bad it is? I just would, it's for you to decide if that it's a judgment call, if that value is there, or should we just put that $5,000 towards promoting not fertilizing your lawn or outreach or different things, so. It's really for you to gauge, and obviously we have two lovely water bodies in town, plus the rivers, so we're gonna do this level of testing. We do have the beach there, so the town has, stake in the quality the lake, in addition to just honestly caring about our water bodies in general, but. We're gonna go down the road for one and then potentially go down for the other water body as well.
Yeah, give me an example to riprap the swale, fabric and riprap the swale on the entire Talbot Hillside of East Shore Road, starting at Brown Lane, heading towards Christian Hill, it's about $40,000, but because of the damage to East Shore Road, they'll only, the percentage is right around 13,500, so. Not a bit more, or just do a portion of it, but the riprap will help with your everyday type of road, and that's the other thing I caution people is. A lot of these repairs for your everyday storm, it's gonna be fine, if we get another 5-hour-a-year storm, the riprap's will probably get taken out with the water. But it will definitely make an improvement to day-to-day erosion, but, like I explained, upgrading a 15-inch culvert to a 24-inch culvert would be nothing for what we experienced last storm. So.
The other question I would have, that I didn't ask you guys, didn't really think about it until after, but they were looking at a company from Portland, is there anyone closer that
I was thinking,
could do this?
or another set of eyes to be independent.
I'm sorry, what,
So is there anyone else that could do the testing, someone closer versus?
we kind of talked about that at the Lake Association meeting, I think, but. I mean, it's possible, certainly. But these folks sort of have already, you know, been involved in the whole study, and they're familiar with the lake and the issues and all that, and the recommendations, so I don't know if it would be.
Yeah, I think we are relying on their expertise. EAI is in town, but they would, what they do, they give you the bottles to test, and then you're testing it properly, you know, you're giving them a water sample, is it done correctly? I know Sprocket Lake has, worked with this company and is going through the same steps that I said, has gone through some of these steps already. So I guess we're trusting them to give us some information that we feel we need.
I think it's premature. If there's a report, we don't have it. I don't know why we don't have it, but we don't. I think it would be helpful to have that, to understand before allocating, you know, it's not a lot of money, but it opens the box. I personally, I don't see the harm in holding off to see what the report says, make a decision after that. I don't know why the report wasn't shared with us.
Yes, we did get a draft.
It was a draft.
Staff level, we provided feedback, and I don't think we got it back, and I just was looking through to see, and I can't find where we got it back, so. I think that's what we were waiting for, was to get, which maybe they're waiting to kind of.
We've just seen the draft. That's
The
what.
draft was sent out prematurely too, there was some miscommunication, the draft was not ready to go out, it was sent out. But first time I saw it, when Bud sent it to me. So, like I said, I have a meeting with FEMA Thursday, I can inquire if it's something they would consider, I would also, like I said, it's always good to get another opinion as far as cost of the testing and see and do circle back.
I wonder if Antioch could do the testing. But the EAI, they're certainly testers, if they're just giving you the bottles, they can certainly do the testing.
Oh, no, I guess it's specific in terms of, you know, what are these spots on the lake you're going to?
You're going to the deep hole,
Yeah, you're going to-
particular location.
You need it to be very consistent. And I'm almost wondering, I think even if I did, it wouldn't be, it may not be as accurate as what, you know, these people have, more of an idea what they're looking for. Even if I was told to go at this point in life, I wouldn't trust results as much as I would trust it from an engineering firm. We do volunteer testing, and again, I think we're looking for a very accurate snapshot of what's going on at the bottom of that lake.
Are they gonna take the water from the bottom and go up in the middle of the lake? And
That's what they're gonna do, yeah. So they will rely on, I think, volunteers from the lake to take them out. Then they go to the deep location in the lake and test right there. Because you're figuring out, all right, how much oxygen do you have at the lower levels of the lake? What's happening down here? Phosphorus and the things that are breaking down. at the bottom.
And we have started, as a result of this study, we have started to, we purchased a dissolved oxygen piece of equipment, and we can measure that more accurately. So really, to answer your question, we really wanted to keep the water quality as pristine as we possibly can. And now it's been degraded because of that storm, and also the use. And this study also shows the build out of what can happen in the next 10 or 15 years, how many properties could be developed within the watershed and what that impact would be. So yes, after July 20th, I'll make sure that you all have what you need to do. No, not me, but general, but we'll make sure you.
So one of the things we struggle with, when, on the zoning board in particular, is what you're talking about, development. But if some of the recommendations that come out have to do with additional development, it seems that it would be helpful if that information was provided to our planner, who could then present it to the planning board with the idea of putting an overlay
Absolutely.
on Swanzey Lake. Yes. And perhaps incorporate it with Wilson Pond as well. Because with that, then some of those expansions may not.
I agree.
And as Sly mentioned, we're at 125 feet. One of the questions I've always had is, where are these septic systems? I would be in favor of allocating $10,000 to locate where the septic systems are, so we could identify which ones are likely to be causing an issue. Because it seems that that's something that we could readily deal with without necessarily going this other step. But I appreciate that report.
Sure.
And if it's in the afternoon on the 20th, maybe we can attend, but if it's in the morning.
No, it's in the morning. It's right there. Go home.
Yeah.
You got a grand before you change it.
We, well, we.
Involved here.
We try.
Well, the Talbot Hill Road issue, I don't know, do we want to go there now, or do you all finish this discussion? Or?
Well, I think Joe said he doesn't really want to do anything up there because it might make it worse.
Well, no, we don't want to do it.
No,
It's
yeah,
better now. It's just.
About this, we want to make a determination on this, and then have a conversation.
I thought we were hunting. We'll have to.
okay, so the decision is you're gonna review it next
I'd
month.
like to see
perhaps?
that report.
Okay.
Yes.
That makes sense.
And then give Joe time to look into what he's gonna look into, all right?
Yeah,
I'll get some
I'll ask
answers
him
there.
if there's any funding source for that.
Okay.
I think we all think it's a big concern, and we feel Swansea Lake is the second important thing that we have in Swansea, no doubt about it. But I agree with Billy, it's a little premature, we want more information, I think, to make a decision like this. I'd be happy with that. And I'd like to see it come back again to us and we look at it.
Yeah, and at the Conservation Commission, we've had some discussions about the Talbot Hill Road issue. Lake Association has, and I think we'd like to put our heads together and see what might be able to be done about that, what the steps could be, whether the town needs to abandon it, and then we go to the private landowner. And then, for instance, I used to work with Natural Resource Conservation Service up in Maine. And I managed a property that had a number of eroding logging roads with huge erosion problems. And we were able to get contracts with the NRCS to put those roads to bed. And I think that's one of the solutions for the Talbot Hill Road. So if we can get some outside funding that would, and some engineers to come in and say, all right, here's what you're gonna do. We hire a contractor to go in and do it. That's one way to get to tackle that.
I don't think we want to go to the foregone conclusion that Talbot Hill Road is going to be closed off. I think if you present it, as you're saying, it as an option for the town.
It's an option. Yeah, it's an option, and certainly, there has to be buy-in from the town and from the landowners up there, and, but that's one. It can, I'm just saying, there are ways to fix the problem, and that's one.
Either way, I've heard people talk about it, like I said, you hit it on the head for the town people to vote and decide. Either way, whether you, to either make that functioning road, it's gonna need a full design, a full drainage system, full engineering. The same thing would be needed to make it a greenway, it'd be the same thing, it'd be a full design and some
Yes.
significant drainage. So I think that it would ultimately fall back on a vote whether people wanted to discontinue that road or not.
And it depends who's paying for that stuff too.
Absolutely. The one thing I will tell you, like I said, I firsthand, as most of my career in emergency services, one of the things that was very eye-opening in that flood was there was no exit or access from Swanzey Lake. So if you were to put a lot of money into the Talbot Hill Road and you were to make it a road, now you have another exit from the end of it. That's one thing to consider. But as you saw here, there were 200 or 300 people down at Philip Pines, and they couldn't get out. There was no way to get out. Cushing Hill was washed out, Swansea Bay Road was washed out. And so it's one of those things, if you're gonna invest in a lot of money to build that back up, that's something to consider.
Yeah, I couldn't get home. So, yeah, it's almost bad.
Belmont washed it out. Wow. Unfortunately.
Belmont Street.
Yeah.
It's better. You'll see, it's better than it was.
Hope we don't have another July like we did last year.
Coming up.
Every 500 years.
Like
It's July 10th, right?
9 to 10,
Yeah, the Sunday,
Yep.
you get to the rain at 6 hours.
solid, so not gonna hurt to see.
Thank you for
Yep,
your time.
Thank
Do you
you.
have any other questions before we?
We'll get that report.
Thank you guys for coming. That's why I was working, just checking some, another environmental, just get a price on, because sometimes those prices can be all over the place.
Yeah. Right, thank you.
I'll see it on the agenda. Nelson Analytics, they same thing as EAI, they are split off.
Yeah,
So it's not the same as that.
yeah.
Cosby that does my part.
That's EAI, well, Nelson,
He ain't, yeah, it's not.
but he does his own
Yeah,
consulting, so.
yeah, because he handles, there's a lot,
Yeah.
it's not bad.
Did the work a lot.
I mean, that is expensive.
The drone, Kathy Bergstrom,
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, it's the-
I emailed her.
I guess you did, I apologize.
Did you guys see the email from Kathy Bergstrom about the
I
drone?
just, yeah, and it showed I looked at the footage, it was the dam there in Swampy Lake, I'm a little.
And the beaver dam up above,
Okay,
that was, I guess, her point. But she brought up a good point as far as marketing and, I had seen, it's not doing business in Swansea, was it, on the site where?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
the
they will
HDR
put
has-
the site down.
You know. I would be in favor of updating our website at the town to have things that show like Safford Drive Industrial Park and other places that are not. And I think the drone footage might be a good marketing tool. Show some of that, but it would probably be through EDAC more than anything. But she brought it up, so I just didn't want to discuss it in an email chain, so I thought I'd bring it up here.
I think you'd ask a good point. Yeah, initially I was kind of with you, Jim, I was kind of like, they're cool pictures, but I wasn't sure what
What to do with
the
it?
town application was, but yeah. Which is, she's the chair of the committee, so.
Right. But I mean, things like the web building, when that's done. Some of the apartment houses that are just being put up. You fly over and stuff and then you come over to Safford Drive and maybe show.
yeah, I looked at that today actually, and I was like, wow, I didn't realize that. You realize a lot more when you look at it from a bird's eye view.
Right.
You know, I didn't realize that dam and all that. And then Jimmy was up and he said, Dad, I walked all along that with the dog and. Well, that's pretty good stuff.
Do you want to discuss Cobble Hill or wait to see how we make out with that guy?
Yeah, I guess either way, if you wanna.
We should address the board. So, yeah, you know, we've been making pretty good progress on the Cobble Hill Road.
Wanting drone footage.
And an extension, we have a property owner that's really unique. As you know, I started communicating with him over 2 years ago, and then he just stopped talking with me. Jimmy's been talking with him, had a little bit more success than me, but more of the same, but we're getting to the point where we're probably a week or 2 weeks worth of small work here and there before paving. We literally have a bottleneck that could create somewhat of a hazard. He did agree to let us take a tree. I need to move a slope back approximately 8 to 10 feet, and we're hoping he's gonna come through and come out and take a look at things, but I think we're gonna have to have a decision if he doesn't, what we wanna do there. Met with the surveyor, and it's gonna take an awful lot of research to determine exactly where the right of way is.
What was it, so many feet from the center line?
Yeah, but it's hard to determine, there's no record of whether it's a 2-rod road, 3-rod road. And stone walls are not consistent, so. And I need to move a slope and stone wall back about 8 feet. It would be an improvement, but it'd be an improvement for the property on his property, because it'd be paved up to his property, and. I learned from digging up there, there's a reason why the road gets so muddy, there's not a lot of gravel involved with it. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
My suggestion was, I say we do it, because if it's 8 feet, it looks like we do it right away. I've had a lot of discussions with this man, so he's got a lot of, issues that of the past 15 years ago. But I let him know clearly that he had an opportunity before we moved ahead, come down, because maybe we could help him out in certain ways, solve that problem. He just is, someday he's into it and then he goes the other way, but what Joe wants to do, I think would be okay to do it, my personal opinion, talking to this guy. I don't think we're gonna affect his property at all, really.
It's altering a little bit,
Just altering
if it is indeed outside of the.
I don't even think he knows what he's looking at anyways, because he hasn't been here in so many years.
Are the trees down?
We told the pine tree,
A dead pine, and then there'd be a couple small
he
ones.
gave me permission for that, so.
There's a couple small ones under 15 inches in diameter that hang off of the road by law, I can take them, so. It'd just be a matter of repositioning the slope and widening the top of the hill, that's all.
Or else?
I haven't discussed it with him because we were trying to wait and see if we got either the survey information or the permission, so.
What's the surveyor saying? Is it legal as well as
He
running his?
He thinks we wouldn't have an issue with the court at all, if we filed one in that direction, because of the safety issue of the road. But it would take a lot of work to find out exactly what the right of way is. No clear. It would be a question for Cardell, I think. Hopefully, we're still have hope that he's gonna come up and.
I'm gonna try him again tonight. Like I said, I called him and I was getting through to him that he was thanking me at the end, thank you for notifying me, and I was very like, no, we want to work with you, and at first it didn't go so great, then by the end of it, he was like, thanks for your call, Jimmy, this is great, I'll try to get up there, and then I called him again, and I told him, we have to get this project done, you need to get here, and he promised me he'd meet with us 3 days ago, and 2 days ago, and he's a unique fellow, I mean, I don't know what other word to use for it, but Joe stepped off this road, remember Joe, we counted across this together, and it just seems like we're right in the legal to do the edging, right, Joe?
Yeah.
The way we footed it off, I mean, we're not going deep,
And the one thing about and I'm at Cordell would have to chime in, I'm not familiar with the whole process, but when I'm looking at Cape Lane, we're looking just to alter the roadside edge. Need about another 5 feet of flat area, 6 feet of flat area, and then a drainage ditch and move the slope back.
By any means, it's gonna improve the property like that. It's gonna improve it from what Joe's thinking of doing.
How timely is your problem? Obviously,
We got a little time, I can put the paving off on this till
fall.
Yeah, October at the latest, so we do have some time, but I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention.
Take a couple pictures next time you're up there and I'll snip the map and we'll send those to you. See what you think.
That was,
One of our attorneys.
One surveyor is telling me that it's likely the right of way is 50 feet, the tax map shows it at 50 feet. The other one that came out and met with me, looking at it, he goes back and forth, he's like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's only 33 feet, they wouldn't be surprised.
Where would 33 feet put you?
Sure,
well, the road is 20, right?
yeah, up top there, it's around 19, so, but it's the stone wall,
Right.
straight drops down.
So we're measuring from the edge, or we're measuring outside the center?
You measure from the center, if you were gonna go between the two stone walls there, you measure from the center, because the road's been moved around the wall. It's
So
not
it'd be 16 and a half from the center line, maybe,
me.
and you're looking at
Or
probably 20 from the center.
If it was 25 from the center, then what I'm looking to do, I'm fine. But it would be very, very lengthy process for the surveyors to pull up historical records and find out. And this, you know, back in the day, that was a road that was just extended a little bit at a time, with nothing formal done. So they warned me that if you want to spend your money, but it's gonna be a lot of work to try to establish that.
And then it probably helped put out if you had some historical data from below and above. You know,
The road files are very limited and very lacking. I tried pulling other property surveying.
Yeah.
To see if I could find anything, I forwarded some of it off to the surveyor, but it hasn't been so helpful yet.
ask by Cordell and see what he says. You can draw a photo and all. So. Well, his photo, where you see it, the beautiful work he's done, and there's this lump of dirt and choke.
Hopefully he'll come through, but I think if we don't hear back from him next week, we can check with Cordell.
Because that might take a little bit. Notification.
Until,
So we have weeks.
I know there was some ultimately.
sure.
We don't want.
It's his name.
It's like a lot of money.
But I'm just surprised, like I said, let me try him again tonight and tomorrow, I'll work on him. He did, this is a win. He doesn't have a cell, he went, he was out traveling to something. And he said in his travels, he was gonna try to come through and ring me and say he's here. But maybe he's back at home, he'll answer that, and I'll give him, you know, the last hurrah, and we'll see where I can get with him. And we'll go from there. All right,
I appreciate your help with that.
I'll try to get the answer as soon as we can, but personally, I think we need to do what Joe wants.
I can see that where you can, pay if you want. No opposition up there.
I just said, you said Mike York said it's okay, or go with it. Plan it out,
I'm just wondering, hold me a conference on all that time of the
Maddie?
because
I don't know if
we had to resurvey our lot problem, make sure what's going on, plus one of our neighbors up there. And a lot of the things that originally weren't passed through, like it's supposed to be on deeds and stuff, so our attorneys had to rewrite our deed and everything.
Anything else? Public input one more time?
Well, I'll bring up Wilson Pond. So
Where's
the-
that?
Right around the corner from you. So the public boat launch, you know how that's used, I'm sure you guys drive by and see lots of people enjoying it. Not everybody enjoys it.
Some big people enjoy the sitting here.
Well, you know, I don't know, now we have the guardrail is broken, right, Joe, I'm guessing your team must have picked that up today or yesterday.
Yeah, and we're too busy to get it trying to fix it.
I don't know if it's soft and just aged or if somebody was malicious. I know the sign that we put up a couple, I guess it was 2 years ago for inspecting the boats, that's moving over. I really think the town needs to decide whether that is a beach area or not, okay? There's a lot of incidents that go on. Today, I actually, went out and brought somebody back who was in a tube, it was really windy this afternoon. Got to about 15 miles an hour on a road station. And there's no way for the person to get back, and, this is pretty lit up as well, so he wasn't, I'm not even sure he really went in the direction. But it's several times a year we do that, you know, we've already, probably numerous, numerous tubes and things that just float away. We get people swimming, attempting to swim to the island. We got there yesterday, watching somebody got about 30 away and realized he wasn't going to make it and went back. But, you know, there's no orange buoy or anything behind him, so, you know, jet ski or boat can easily, you know, come and clip somebody if they're not paying attention. But it's a dangerous situation. Also the amount of debris, I know there's a sign there, it says, something like, you know, with no littering, no dogs allowed by ordering the selectmen. If we have enforcement to go by there and see animals there, why don't they stop and say, you know, they're not allowed? I mean, there's a reason for that. And that's, you know, what they're doing to the water, right? If that was a public beach, we'd probably have closed down quite often for fetal bacteria because of the animals and stuff like that. I think the town just needs to really make a decision what they want to do there, what they want to allow. You know, somebody who lives on the pond and represents a lot of people on it, we're somewhat indifferent as long as it's controlled. Swanzey Lake, they have a public beach, it's open 8 to 8 in the summer. You know, we have people there 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. The houses are much closer to the water, so it's not unusual for somebody to look out and see somebody literally, you know, 20 feet into the water, you know, 10 o'clock at night, and you're like, are they looking in the windows? What are they doing? Right? They might just be fishing, but you just don't know. So there's really a lack of control of what's going on with them. And we know we clean up every Sunday, you know, as a volunteer, what we see. And I don't want to admit that there was one time somebody told 3 diapers out of the room. It's just not the right thing. So I really would like to have to think hard about what they want to do there. I think, I'm not sure, but I think by law, you need to have public road access.
Yeah.
But all the other stuff that goes on, if there is somebody who wants to get a boat in and out, a lot of times they can't because of where people are parked. There's just, you know, I'm trying to not get into the derogatory, but I can quickly get there. I just think the town needs to make a decision what to do there. What's the law about boat?
Yeah, well, with a
It's a
boat
fishing
launch
game.
like that, you have to be 250 feet away before you can swim from the boat launch. And I don't believe that's.
So what do you mean by that? We have to have one by law?
Public bodies of water of a certain size, I think, have to have an access point for watercraft.
I think it's 5 acres.
And that was the town that maintained.
Fishing
that.
game.
Fishing game.
Yeah, I looked that up recently because somebody asked me, it is 250 feet from the boat launch, you can't swim. You can't have a beach.
So who sets regulations over there? Who sets rules? Like,
The state.
where did the dog rule come up from? Who did that? The town?
I don't know, we have to do something about it, I need to sign to by order.
There's a sign up there now that says everything
Well,
about
it's someone stated, there's a sign there, maybe
who sets the rules to the lake they put upon, or whatever we call it, the lake.
Well, fishing game sets some and we can set some. As far
Fishing
as-
game sets up?
Right, set fishing game, because we have to have that boat launched in because it's big enough.
Yeah,
And then all the fishing game laws pertain to that lake, even though the town owns.
but I mean, are these decisions up to the select board?
Well, as far as what they call the beach area,
Yeah,
that's land, so yeah, I think the selectmen have the authority to set regulations on that area.
I didn't know that.
There might be some research to go to the town attorney to make sure we're on solid ground.
Do you know that, Mike? Is that what it is?
I believe what Mr. York described is correct from my understanding that it's, it's public property, so in terms of most of the use is under the select board.
Same with Swanzey Lake, that boat launch there.
Yes.
The boat launch, no, not the boat.
Yeah,
The boat
Swanzey Lake.
launch at Swansea Lake is controlled by the state.
Right, but it's our property.
Huh?
It's the same idea, it's our
The
property,
problem is ours, not the way.
Swanzey Lake's that up,
the dam.
where the dam is, right?
Right, but you can't swim there.
So if we wanted to make repairs to something, it's us that makes
Right.
repairs, right?
What I would say is it's gonna be easier to drop it now before we have, another 400 minutes for the people and, who knows what will happen.
It is a little chaotic feel when you see parking. When I drive by, somebody will just park a long way and take a lot. I get that. But that's gonna take like somebody maintaining it and being out there. I mean, how do you control something like that?
Either somebody will come and they'll just, blast the, loud music, and just take it away from not only other people using that area, whether it's one or not, but people who are, floating out there. I mean, you miss that all the time, that makes travel. Somebody with a remote control boat, it sounds like it's going 100 miles an hour, like they walk faster than it. And just, the street, I can hear it clearly across the pond in my house.
What
Guys
they
still
have?
playing on that?
What rights do they have? Do they have an association, the Wilson Pond Association?
Yeah, if they wanna buy up the
Wait, is
property,
it?
they can do whatever they
You're
want.
the association, the Wilson Pond. So what do you have? What are you capable of doing?
Well, we don't own the land.
You can't really
We
do
can't
that.
set regulations. What we do is we out testing. We, for the people to get educated, be in the lake smart program. And we have social events that keep people talking. So. I don't think your problem with the people I live on the lake anyway. I think most of the problem comes from out of town. Most of the time. So that's another thing I think you guys should really think hard about. The other thing is related to the town property there, and it's not only the boat launch area, but the other areas, such areas that the town owns. I'd like you guys to kind of consider and kind of give me the approval to have like smart look at those pieces of land and can give you guys a report on what they find there. It's no different than homeowners. It's a piece of property bordering the water, a body of water, and you guys should know what the state thinks about it and get recommendations if there are improvements in the. So that's
Which properties?
that would be what's on Route 32, the local one, and what I've already said. I don't think you own all of it on 32. I think
That is the view, which we.
we stay on the old
So where the swamp things go, do we own that?
I don't know where the mileage is. But then there's some other assets things off of.
Water's Edge.
Yeah, the water's edge, there's one,
There is an access area?
There's several.
yeah. I think there's 3 others.
I can check those. Let's see that.
Good luck finding them. Some of them get drive by.
Is that right?
Some of the people think we own that there's no record that we actually do own. So I think this is should probably be an agenda item if we're gonna get into it. Make sure we know what properties we're talking.
Want to do that in a couple of weeks if he can get it together and.
I'd love to. I think it's important.
So
Yeah, our next date is September for next round of Lake Smart coming out. We've got 8 properties done this year and get another 8 done.
When's your big pickup?
August 31st.
I'll invite
What do you
you.
mean you got 8 properties? What do you think?
So Lake Smart is a New Hampshire DEF program.
Yeah,
And they come by and they evaluate the property primarily for 4 things. Roof runoff, driveway runoff, yard runoff, and septic.
okay.
That's not an issue with us. But the other 3 things are, and it's an educational process, it's not regulatory, it's, and, you know, you meet the criteria or you work to meet it, essentially, and you get a nice couple signs that are up in the property, to indicate that.
See if there's a cost for
The
us.
primary purpose of it is to just for it, do it, to show that we're supporting the project order. So when we
I mean, it might be in the grant.
for the program, so we're going to spend that on the years ago, we're more likely to get that money.
Are any of the properties still on septic? On the plan?
I don't think any of them are.
No, it's still on time.
Trying to think.
I'm not aware of any, but they're saying they would let me help.
Where Chip, Adams lives. That used to be, but he hooked up the sewer a few years ago when he remodeled the house. And right around number 60. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's anything.
So, I mean, we're gonna have a problem with one of the better,
Right.
phosphate is an issue, fertilizing, especially road salt and 32, right? But, you know, test results, if it's, like, we have to do, we can test the cost. It's working. We'll see. The biggest source is the little stream that's coming down, well, the road side of that. That's sort of the biggest. Everything maybe will come from the property. We work on it. We work on the property and this continuously.
Yeah, like that. Those are the ones with the beautiful lawns.
So they're truck, you know, don't even know what they want, you don't know, it's natural, they want to put the rig at all.
The damage, take a bit out.
No. You're shut down to the project.
I'll meet you up there Monday,
Yeah. When we move the past off. So they're very good, but. Where are we at with the chairs?
Where we are with the chairs.
These are pretty nice.
I mean, I got that a month ago, you know, I got that. So
We appointed you to the chair study committee and then you disappeared.
Who's the chair of the chair committee?
He never called? You know what, there's enough here, so when we have planning board meetings, we each have on.
Keep them in this, so that's what happened.
It's on the list.
Yeah.
Second.
If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. 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 Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.